All right, so for this week's project, we're going to be returning to the wildly popular world of video servicing. And of course, these projects, not that famous on my channel, but we do have one here that was sent in by George, who lives in Savannah, Georgia. And George has sent me several things at this point, and he's quite the fan of JVC's high-end VCRs, and this is just one in his arsenal. This is an HR-S5800U, and this is one of the most attractive looking video recorders you'll ever lay eyes on. This thing is absolutely stunning. And I do remember when I had my shop, I had a few of these pass through, and in my opinion, this is one of their best efforts. This is really a nice looking VCR and a nice functioning VCR. He tells me that this one is dead altogether. So of course, anytime we think about a dead scenario, probably the first stop would be the power supply, see what's going on there. This would be at the age now to where I'm sure there's several capacitors that have failed. Hopefully we don't have a power supply board with, tons of leakage that we'll need to clean up, but we'll check it all out and see if we can figure out what's going on with it for him. And as always, we'll come in, we'll have a look at the buttons on the front. This one does have a flip down control panel that hides a lot of buttons and things that you might want to access if you're using this machine. So as always, we'll come in and we'll get a look at that, and then we'll get it opened up and see if we can figure out what's going on. Our intro music this week, we're checking out Robert Plant's 1985 solo album called Shaken and Stirred, and this is one of my favorite solo records by Robert Plant. And with the exception of Little by Little, I don't think there was any other, radio songs off this record, but there is a ton of good music here. And one of my favorite songs is called Sixes and Sevens. So let's hear a little bit of this, and then we'll get started on his JVC. All right, so picking back up with you, went ahead and got the machine hooked up, and it is dead. We got nothing happening. I did hear the relay for the switched outlet. I heard that kind of cycle as I plugged the machine in, but other than that, nothing. Noticed a couple of things. There's this little shield area right here that bends over where the fuse is located, and you can tell somebody's pulled up on that looking for a blown fuse, and they didn't find one, because the fuse obviously is good if I heard the relay cycle. Noticed another thing, got a screw missing here, so it was taken apart at some point. And then of course, more screws in the wrong spot. We do have flat ones here, which is probably right, but I'm not so sure that this would have been a raised screw here. So, of course, these are picky things that I'm kind of pointing out, but still, it's one of those deals where you got to pay attention when you take it apart so you can try to get it back, or basically ensure that you get it back the way that it came from the factory is kind of the idea. Mechanism looks good. I don't see anything out of place right off the get-go. Head looks good. Doesn't look like it's been changed. Everything else looks in place. This is not broken. This was a common piece to break. This is their most popular mechanism from back in this time, and everything looks okay. Can't really tell if our pressure roller has any cracks in it or not. This camera certainly won't get close enough to let us know. I did notice that the idler assembly is moving freely from side to side. It would definitely still be something that would need to be addressed, but that one isn't froze in place. So I guess the first thing, we need to get this out so we can get an evaluation of it. And so we'll kind of carefully remove this. This is multi-layers. There's probably 3 or 4 layers of boards here. So anytime I see screws missing and things done that shouldn't have been done, of course the worst possible scenario appears in my mind. Somebody took this board out, they snapped something, they broke a wire, they soldered on something they shouldn't have been soldering on. But we'll try to be a little bit more positive than that. But I'm going to go ahead and get this board out, and we'll remove the power supply, and we'll start there and see if we can get this thing powered up. So give me a moment for that, and I'll pick back up with you. All right, picking back up with you. Was able to get the power supply out of the unit, went ahead and kind of broke the board down out of the frame here. It has this side mounted board that kind of stands up vertically, and I wanted to make sure we could get to that because it's being hid by this side piece right here. Let's see if we can get you flipped around and show you what I discovered about this. Now, it's had some work done on it. I mean, this guy, whoever did this, and this could have been done a long time ago. You never know. Let's see if I can get you in here a little closer. But in this area right here, basically I believe this is where the 5-volt line would be. C14, 15, and 16, there's one over here. These were replaced. And after doing some ESR, this one right here is dropped in value. C14 has dropped in value again. And so that's probably what's causing the issue. But otherwise, I don't see any indication here, and we'll have to zoom out. I don't see any indication here that we have any leakage from other capacitors. I mean, when you flip it over, and trying to wrestle this thing is kind of a pain because of the fact that it has that built-in outlet and the cord strain relief there. And so I didn't want to take all that loose, but we should still be able to get a good look at it here. I mean, down in this area here, there is no leakage coming out of any of these. Of course, we'll pull some of these out and just do an ESR testing of these. It's in this little section right here. C14, I believe, is the one that's really low. So that's probably what's causing our problem. It's definitely a problem. But otherwise, just kind of running these real fast. These all are pretty much up to speed. There was one changed over here on the primary side. That one right there. Let's see. There's a little one right there that was changed. So it's had some work done. Nothing here on the sideboard was changed. One of the things you have to be careful with this board is the way that it's kind of hinged right here. It's easy if you rock it back and forth too much, you'll start to break these connections off. And I noticed that they did some resoldering around that area where the two boards meet with that connector. They did a little resoldering work right through here. It needs to be cleaned up. So there's some work here that needs to be kind of cleaned up. It's a little sloppy, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to replace that one that has dropped in value and see if that will get this thing back up and going. And then from that point, once we get the machine on, we don't want to go too crazy on the power supply until we can get the machine on and make sure we don't have other problems. So give me a minute. I'll go ahead and get this one replaced and we'll pick back up and see if it'll turn on. All right, picking back up with you. Went ahead and got the power supply reinstalled. I went ahead and changed out basically 3 of the 4 capacitors that they had previously replaced. 1 absolutely bad, 2 questionable, so I went ahead and changed all 3 of them just to make sure that we didn't have, an issue. And we got it on and it is working. We got a pretty washed out display. Let's see if I can get you in here a little closer. And to be quite honest with you, it actually looks better in the camera than it does in person here. But there's two sections to this. The bottom section displaying the date, and the top section displaying the function, the record level meters, and the time. And again, it looks a little better in this camera than it really does in person. It's pretty washed out. Now, there is no capacitor issue in the power supply that's creating this. There are a few capacitors behind this display, if I remember right, so we'll want to look at those. But we've been down this road many times, and you can always tell the telltale signs is you have some characters that are brighter than others, and this is just because of the fact that it burns in the characters it uses the most. Those have a tendency to degrade faster than the others. But it is there and it is working. A couple other things we should note. We do got a blue screen on our monitor here. Camera's not going to pick that up in this mode, but I got a tape in this and I got it to play. It produces a great picture. We have an audio issue, and left channel hi-fi audio is not working, or it's working but it's very weak. Also, we have an issue, very common tape guide problem. To get a tape to play in this, you'll have to hold down on these, keeping them to the tracks as they get threaded into the V-locks. If we look right here, you can see the brass retainer piece laying down inside the mechanism. So there's that. The mode switch is dirty. It tries to eat the tape. And anytime you try to back it up, it tries to eat the tape. So there's that. That's going to have to be dealt with. But I'm more concerned with the audio issue. I'm not sure what would be causing that. I don't think there's a cylinder issue, anything like that. When it drops from hi-fi and goes into standard, mono audio through the head, it works fine. So I don't think there's a cylinder issue. We're probably going to find something over here on this board that deals with the audio. But I think the first thing we're probably going to need to do is we're going to have to get this mechanism fixed to where it will play a tape correctly. We don't have to do stuff to get the tape to play. But for now, let me bring you back and we'll get a tape in it and I'll show you, the picture on it and stuff. But we got more than we started with, and it is, it's coming back to life. It's just it's gonna take some work, especially in the mechanism. So let me bring you back. Let me get the tape threaded up in it, and you can see the picture on this. All right, bring you back. Got a tape in it. Our bench test tape, Ingve, live in Tokyo here, I believe it is. And we got a good picture. No trouble there. Everything's looking good. Well, we do got an audio issue that we're going to need to address. And by the way, the variable out is done with the headphones control. It's not done in the menu anywhere, which I had originally thought. Anyway, we've got very good left channel hi-fi audio, but we ain't got nothing on the right there. And so, unfortunately, no activity there. I'm not sure. There isn't any kind of a problem that I could see. I did tap around on the board a little bit just to make sure we didn't have anything loose, and I can't see where anyone's done anything to this, but I haven't started separating these layers of boards looking. I believe the audio is probably on the bottom board maybe, or at least that's where the jacks are. So we'll just have to look into it and see. But I think the first thing we need to do, obviously, is get this mechanism fixed. Obviously, when you put a tape in now, you have to kind of help the tape guides get into the V-locks, or otherwise they'll stop short and try to chew the tape up. So we need to get that taken care of. The mode switch needs to be taken care of. There's a few things that's going to need to be mopped up. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of that taken care of. I think one of my VCR videos on my channel shows me doing this kind of stuff. So I'll spare you that, and we'll concentrate on the audio problem on video and see if we can figure out what that is. But don't know. We'll have to see if we can figure it out. Hopefully it's easy. And so I don't know if I have a service manual for this. I may have one of the DVDs that JVC sent to all the authorized service centers. I know there was a ton of material on. Each DVD had maybe 100 models, and so I'm not sure if I have a DVD that has this model on it or not. So hopefully we can figure out what it is without needing a manual. So yeah, I'll pick back up with you. It'll take me a while to get the mechanism situation mopped up, but I'll get that taken care of, and then I'll pick back up with you. But as of right now, we got some signs of life. It is working. We got a picture. Not a bad one either. It's very sharp looking. You can't tell it through this camera, but the picture looks real good. So I'll pick back up with you when we're finished up with the mechanism here. All right, so I'm picking back up with you. This is going to be day number 2. Went ahead and got all the mechanism work done underneath. Got the mode switch out, got that cleaned up, put back in, got both tape guides fixed with the fasteners put back, got the capstan motor gear fixed, that plastic gear that always develops a split in it, got that taken care of. So I'm completely done underneath. Everything is good there. And so now we're kind of addressing this audio problem. And what I've been doing is, the first thing I did is notice that we do have some audio there. It's just very, very faint. So we're down in this section of the board. But what I've noticed is I went ahead and just started jumping caps in this area, looking for anything that might be the issue. And what I found was, after using my heat gun, I started heating some things up. And I noticed that the right channel started to come back. And then from that point, I started looking at what I was heating up, because I didn't feel like one of these electrolytics here would have been creating that problem. But what I did notice is there's a side-mounted board, and I'll try to get you in here. It's the one right here that you can see that we have some basically very tiny, some of those silver capacitors, and there's a few of them on this board. And this board is mounted kind of in the side and slots cut into the top circuit board, so it kind of stands vertically. And it looks like it would be quite the pain to take out, but what I've noticed is by heating this up, it does come back. So what I've done is I've got the right channel wide into both the channels of the mixer, and we're going to heat this up, and I'm going to kind of show you how it comes back and starts working again. So I'm going to use my heat gun for that. Basically just get this thing fired up, and let's see what happens here. I'll put the mic on mute while we're doing this. All right, so basically heating it up kind of brought the audio back to us a little bit. I didn't see it really jump up too much on the meter. As a matter of fact, now that that audio is, now that that heat is gone, it's starting to die back down again. But it's definitely doing more than it was, and I think that's a great place to start. So I'm gonna see what I can do about getting this board out, and then from that point, we'll go ahead and recap it. And hopefully there's not too much leakage damage on that. That'll be a big pain if there's double-sided traces and I have to start repairing those. So I'm gonna work on going ahead and getting this board out, and we're gonna see if we can get it recapped and see if that'll fully restore our audio. But this looks like a good place to start, and there isn't anything else that's jumping out at me. All right, so I'm picking back up with you. Went ahead and got this board out and got all the silver caps changed, and it came with a price. Unfortunately, I was trying to do this with this board still stuck and soldered in place into the other board, and what I didn't realize how severe the leakage was from the capacitors. And so the first cap that I tried to pull off the board ripped both traces up. I'll get you in here a little closer, maybe, if this thing will agree. Yeah, so I ripped up both traces right there. And so this cap, I ripped one trace up off of it. I don't think we can really see, but I got the one positive lead tacked down and the negative lead using a very tiny wire going over to pin 5 of the IC. But this cap, actually, the two traces basically just go over here and feeds into these wires. Basically what we got here is two very tiny circuit boards sandwiched together. I'm not going to try to pry them apart, but they're sandwiched together and they're connected by these tiny little loops of wire. And I can tell you from personal experience, if you heat one side of the wire up, the other side's going to come loose, and so you're going to start playing that game back and forth. So that's what I did. I played that game back and forth for a few minutes until finally I decided that I would put something in place to hold the wire on the top side while I soldered on the bottom or on the back side of it. So I got the caps in place. I wring out the traces. They weren't easy to wring out. Of course, one goes all the way over here to the IC. This one went up here, and so I had to tab it onto where the board actually connects into the other circuit board. As for the other caps, everything went pretty swimmingly on those. Took a little bit more softer approach, got those going. And so this should be it, hopefully. I don't know. We'll have to get it put in, and I'll let you know. But from what I can tell, we should have a winner here. But it's a very frail circuit board to work on, and a lot of traces damaged by the leakage of those silver capacitors. You can see I've cleaned it up some. I'm not sure this camera will really pick it up, but there's some discoloration, especially around in here and over in this area. Again, I cleaned it up quite a bit, but there's a little bit of discoloration there from that leakage. It actually turned some of these traces dark black, and any of them that I thought may have been an issue, I rang them out from point to point, and they all fine. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put this back in and see if we can restore the missing audio channel, right channel audio. And hopefully in the process of fixing the one problem, I didn't create another problem by missing something over here, but I think I got it. So I'll pick back up with you once I get it put back in. All right, so I'm picking back up with you. Went ahead and got that small circuit board reinstalled into the main audio board, and we did get both channels back. One thing I've noticed that according to the front panel meters here, we've got one channel that seems a little hotter than the other channel. But when I go over and look at it on the mixer, and I'll bring it up in the mixer so you can hear it or see it. So I'm not sure, I don't think that there's anything wrong with the audio coming out. Now, one thing I did notice is I tried to drive a signal into the unit and I'm still missing the right channel on the incoming signal. So there's clearly some kind of an issue there still. So I think there may be more work that needs to be done on that board. Maybe I missed a trace. Maybe the leakage caused some kind of damage that I'm not aware of. But I think what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna torture the audio people with any more of this video. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video at this point. Probably won't do any kind of a part 2, but I will post my findings in the comments on this portion of the video after it's uploaded. But it's pretty much 90% there, but we still got to work out what's going on with the incoming audio coming into the unit. And I haven't done any test record at all with it, so I don't know what the record quality of the video is. But again, I'll update the comments to let you know what I found for those that might be interested. But on the way out, we'll check out a little bit of my VHS copy. This is Yngwie live in Leningrad, and this is a pretty good live show for him. But as always, I want to thank you guys very much. Appreciate you checking out the video this week. Appreciate all the people reaching out to me about possibly checking out their units. And if I haven't gotten back to you, rest assured that I will. Just been a little busy lately. But this is a beautiful machine, and I'm really, just kind of obsessed with making sure I get the audio of this perfect the way that it's supposed to be. And I'm not sure where that's going to lead. Hopefully not to the point where there's an issue with that IC and it has to be replaced, because I don't know if there would be a replacement part for it. So, but on the way out, let's check out a little bit of this Yngwie. Let's crank it up a little bit here in the mixer. Yeah, I'm not sure. It definitely looks like it's coming in a lot hotter on the right side, the side that was having the issue, versus the left side. But yet, looking at it, the meters on the mixer, it seems equal. Once I play it back and listen to it with headphones, I'll get a better idea of what's going on. But definitely interesting one, challenging one. A lot of things wrong with this. So I'll be working on it a little bit more until I can get it all worked out. So thanks to George, appreciate you sending this up. And thanks to all the viewers for entertaining yet another video project. Again, I know these are not as popular as the audio things, but you know, when you have your own shop and you work on electronics, you don't get to pick and choose what comes in the door. You just work on whatever the customers bring to you. But beautiful machine. Thank you guys as always, and I'll catch you on the next video.